What is up, everybody? Welcome to another World Cup preview. This is number 16. So after I'm done talking about Tunisia, halfway there, 16 down, 16 to go. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube so you don't miss the rest of my World Cup previews as well as the other content I put out every single week. And you can find my written work on Substack, touchlinetalk.substack.com, as well as on Medium. I am posting stuff there now too. Today, all about Tunisia, that final team in Group D. This is Tunisia's sixth World Cup appearance. They qualified in 2018, the four before that, 1978, 1998, 2002, and 2006. So a little bit of a break. Qualified in 2018, and they are back in 2022. Tunisia have not got past the group stage in their history and these five previous World Cup appearances. So that's something to take note of heading into Qatar. They got to Qatar by winning their second round qualifying group that included Equatorial Guinea, Mauritania, and Zambia. That sent them to what I'm calling the playoff round, the third round of CAF, Confederation of African Football qualifying, where all the teams are paired together and they play a two-legged tie and the winners qualify. Tunisia drew Mali, beat Mali 1-0 on an own goal, 1-0 score on aggregate to get to Qatar. In terms of names to know, the first one is Kazri. He had 3 goals and an assist in qualifying. He was involved in 4 of the team's 5 goals at the World Cup in Russia. He has been a consistent goal scorer in Ligue 1 for years. He's on his 5th different team now with Montpellier. He just surpassed the 70 goal mark in Ligue 1 for his career. He is the heart and soul of this team. He is the face of this team. He's the first player, first name you think of when you think of this Tunisian national team. So Wahbi Kazri is going to be vital. He is the guy who scores the goals and leads this team's attack. Second player I want to highlight is Ali Malul. Malul played every single minute of qualifying, contributed a goal and an assist from his left back spot. He's another one of these guys who's been around for years. He knows how this works. He is incredibly accomplished within this national team. He's actually only 4 caps away from breaking into the top 10 on the all-time appearance list for Tunisia. So that's something, if you're kind of interested in following that, there are all of these guys who are really tight on that list right now. So he's kind of going to be tying people, passing people every single appearance he gets. But if he gets to 4, if he plays every group stage game, Tunisia managed to get out of their group, then he will be alone in the top 10, not tied with anybody for 10th. Just a testament to how important he has been, how valuable he's been, the contributions he's made to this team. So Ali Malul, definitely a name to know. The third name, Ali Skiri, started every game at the 2018 World Cup, started every game at the African Cup of Nations at the beginning of 2022. He spent most of his career in Ligue 1 and now in the Bundesliga. He has over 90 starts in both of those leagues, of course, 2 of the top 5 in Europe, which is a testament to how good he has been and his ability to play at the top level consistently. He's, not the flashiest player. He's not the goal scorer like Kazri, but he is one of those unsung hero guys who patrols the middle of the field, sets tempo, does the dirty work, and all of those little things that are key to a team's success that don't really show up on the scoreline. Yes, he can chip in with a goal here or there, but he really is one of those guys that flies under the radar because his contributions don't necessarily show up on the score sheet. But Ali Skiri is a crucial member of this Tunisian team. And then, for a breakout star, Montessor Talby, in his first season with Lorient in Ligue 1, already a regular starter for that Lorient team, and he actually just got his first international goal against none other than Brazil in that final international window, those final tune-up games before the World Cup. He was the one that scored the goal for Tunisia against Brazil. 4 starts at the African Cup of Nations, 4 starts in qualifying. He really hadn't been a factor in this team because, he's still early in his career until the past year or two, and has really come on and solidified himself as a key piece in this team that is relied upon consistently. I expect him to have a huge role for this team in Qatar. And it just kind of is this nice progression where he made the jump to one of those major 5 leagues, is doing well for Lorient. And so now you build off of that where he's in his first season in Ligue 1. And now you get to go put a World Cup on top of that. And if he can keep performing well, he really is a guy who, the breakout is going to be more than just what he does in Qatar, because he kind of already got his move to the higher level. So that's going to be part of, I would assume, what is going to be highlighted about him when he is playing for Tunisia is he just got that move to Ligue 1. But it's kind of a nice sort of next step way to build on this move he already got and this high level he's playing at is by showing just what he can do at this World Cup. So Montessor Talby, another name to keep an eye on as a potential breakout star for this Tunisia team. The bottom line with Tunisia, the reason for optimism for me, and I'm going to rely somewhat heavily on the 2018 World Cup for this, but I found this and I just had to bring it up because to me it is the biggest thing that would give me confidence if I'm Tunisia. In preparation for and during the 2018 World Cup, in a consecutive series of international windows in 2018, Tunisia played Iran, Costa Rica, Portugal, Turkey, Spain, England, and Belgium. Now, England and Belgium were at the World Cup, and they played them in that order. They did not lose a game by multiple goals until Belgium. Now, Belgium didn't go so well. But Iran, Costa Rica, Portugal, Turkey, Spain, England. In a World Cup year, or in the case of England, at a World Cup, at the worst, it was a 1-goal loss. All of those games for Tunisia. And then you add to that the fact that they beat Nigeria at the African Cup of Nations. And I just point all of this out to say, they're not going to be taken aback, surprised by the quality of play at the World Cup. They're going to come in knowing that your Wabi Kazris and Ali Skiris and Ali Maluls of the world have performed well and been competitive against some of the best teams in the world. The idea of seeing a France in their group is not something particularly new to many of these players. So to me, that is the reason for optimism, is you have plenty of good performances against World Cup quality opponents in the last 4 years, starting, those last couple windows before the 2018 World Cup, to point to and say, we can hang with the big boys. The concern, quite simply, is the defense. For all of those good, respectable score lines and moral victories that came out of those games I just listed, Tunisia had the highest expected goals allowed of any team at the last World Cup. And I mentioned that Montessor Talby scored against Brazil. That game ended 5-1. This is the concern for me. They have got to be better defensively, and they have got to stop giving up so many quality chances. Because the actual goals allowed and the score lines don't look that bad, which is where I think expected goals allowed and just expected goals as a general statistic can be valuable, is it does tell a different part of the story that needs to be acknowledged. You might be able to get away with a really bad defensive performance for one game. But what happened in this World Cup is, okay, they hung with England, and then it all fell apart against Belgium in 2018. So, heading into Qatar, you're facing a fairly similar situation in this group. It was England and it was Belgium, and this time it's France and Denmark. Now, Denmark is not necessarily the same kind of offensive firepower. Their team is built a little bit differently. But they are incredibly dangerous. I am really, really high on Denmark. You can go watch my preview on them to find out why. So I look at this group And Tunisia again find themselves paired with two European powers that fully expect to get through and are significantly better on paper. You gotta be better defensively. You can't, your margin of error is already so small. You can't decrease that further by giving the Frances and the Denmarks of the world those extra 2 or 3 opportunities. Because even if you can get a win in that other game, 3 points isn't going to be enough. You're going to have to find a way to get some points against one of these European teams. And that starts with being good defensively. Right? They had, in order for somebody, I mean, it's a very basic concept, but in order for somebody to actually get 3 points against you, they have to put the ball in the net. And so it is worrying to me that this Tunisian team is not necessarily built to play defense first. That doesn't bode well and set up for a successful World Cup. And it's, to me, it's not how you want to approach knockout tournaments. Stranger things have happened, though, so we'll have to see. But that is ultimately why I have a hard time seeing Tunisia getting out of this group. If they can manage to do so, that is a massive, massive, massive accomplishment. Not just because it would be the first time, but because that means they figured something out, because they had to get at least 2 good results out of this thing. They had to do something against one of those 2 European teams. And that probably also means they're playing much better defensively. But this is one of the groups I look at, and a lot of them, I can make arguments for at least 3 teams getting out, if not all 4. This group, I really see it as 2 teams, 2 clear favorites, that something has to go terribly wrong for one of the other 2 teams in the group to find a way to get through to the knockout stage. So, unfortunate draw for Tunisia. Again, there's always some team that nobody expects to be in the round of 16 that finds a way to get through. I do see a world in which Tunisia can find a way. I just have a hard time envisioning it actually happening. But if you're asking me about, third teams in groups and dark horses that might find a way to get through, yeah, I mean, you got to put Tunisia on that list. They have proven, like I talked about, they have proven that they are capable of sort of playing on the same level as some of the best teams in the world. I just am hesitant to look at what happened in 2018 and say they can do even better when they got fairly lucky from a expected goals to goals they actually conceded standpoint and still didn't come particularly close to getting out of their group. Some good performances leading up to the World Cup, but ultimately they were the 3rd best team in that group, and it was pretty cut and dry. I expect something similar to happen. I don't think we're going to walk into, the final minutes of that 3rd group stage game talking about Tunisia has a real chance to get through. Again, I just hesitate when you're down to 32 teams and it's a World Cup. I hesitate to rule anybody out, but I look at this group and I see 2 teams that I fully expect to get in to the knockout stage that I would be shocked if they don't make it, and it would be an incredible disappointment from the perspective of France and Denmark, and an incredible accomplishment if Tunisia were to be the team to upset one of them and take their spot in the round of 16. So that is Tunisia. Thanks you so much for tuning in. As I mentioned at the beginning, be sure to hit that subscribe button right here on YouTube, and I'll see you next time.